Okay, think we're up. Hello. I'm going to wait until we've got confirmation that we're up and running. Techie, how am I doing?
You're live.
I'm live. Okay. So, I'm going to switch to the right glasses. Welcome, Don Higgins. I'm back on the Cintiq today. Got a project that I'm going to be working on for Fireside Creations involving the late Gary Gygax. They wanted a shaman piece featuring Mr. Gygax. So, if you don't know who Gary Gygax is, I don't know why you're here, but Gary Gygax is debatably the creator of Dungeons & Dragons as we know it. There are those who debate the issue. I'm no judge. I've heard two different versions of the story. You take from it what you can. I can't say specifically, but I know he was absolutely involved. No doubt about it. But there are those who say there's another person involved. Okay, but I can't be the final judge on that. So when a client says they want a picture that features Gary Gygax, I draw a picture that features Gary Gygax, and that's what I'm going to be working on today. The main thing that I want to get across first, my credentials. I'm a freelance artist illustrator. I am the art director for Fossa Games and their 1879 line. I have been working with Fireside Creations for several years now. I do a lot of artwork for them, cover illustration, working on their Blasted Earth and Dragon Scales and other adventures that are in their wheelhouse. I work in the gaming industry, specifically the role-playing games and tabletop rather than video games. Not that I wouldn't be interested in working in video games. It'd be awesome, I think. But right now I am primarily role-playing games. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and move the camera a little closer here. Come on, work with me. Nope. Come on. Worked the other day. There we go. That's better. That's better. Okay, so first off, I think what I want to do is I want to show you guys a piece that I just finished for the 1879 line. It's all digital except for the initial sketch. I did this piece for, like I said, 1879, the Fae chapter specifically. If I can get it to come up here. Come on. There we go. This was done, as I said, for the 1879 come on. Think, Don. The 1879 Fae chapter for the Game Master's Companion. As I said, this was done all digital. The initial sketch being that. That was the initial sketch. I've got an behind me, tech person.
The goblin is a little blurry. As well as, so are you, but I can still see your overall shape. It's just the, as far as the fine details.
so, but you are seeing me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you blown up the screen, or is it small?
Yes, I have blown up the screen.
Okay, well, go back to regular screen. So this is, we're just going to go, and hopefully everything works out. There's nothing I can change on it now. So, anyway, here we are. This was the initial sketch that I did for the Goblin for 1879. They have come out of their magical realm through the porthole that we opened, and they are coming back to Earth and checking us out. So this guy would primarily stick around the shadows, but he is dressed in more traditional garb of the time. And like I said, how that all worked out. Here's the final piece. I'll zoom in a little closer on that. He came out pretty cool, I think. You can see all my pencil lines, just like traditional. I'll even zoom in a little closer so you can see. All those pencil lines, that's still me working almost traditionally, except in a digital format. Pencils on this information. So that's how that works out. Zoom back out again. That's how he looks. A little farther out. Now, let's go over to what I'm going to work on today and how I start. I'm going to start this piece. Because it's a portrait piece, I'm going to bring up my reference. Can't just guess what Gary Gygax looks like. Now, I can see it. You can't. Because I don't want two pieces on the same frame right here. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm tracing. Not tracing. But I'm going to start here with a... What the heck? Oh, this. Alright, there we go. Start with some layers. Alright, and bring up my brushes. Where are you? There you are. And bring my brushes over to here. I'm going to start with my basic pencil at 100% opacity. And I'm going to start with a drink because I am thirsty. Oh, much better. Alright, now, like any drawing, start with egg. And you hope that your pencil reacts properly. Come on, pencil. It's walking at us. Come on. There we go. Try this again. Here we go. And get my guidelines in. There's some eye area. Remember that it's cut your area in half. Cut that in half in half. Half of the half in half. All in halves, guys, all in halves. And then you start building from there. Now, he has his eyes. Okay. And nose area there. Some heavy, heavy eyelids. Cheek, nose. That. Keep that in the right frame here. Up high, the nostril. And come to that. I got another, what?
You're still,
Speak, honey, I can't hear you.
you're a little fuzzy still as far as the
All right.
camera is concerned.
Well, we're going to have to go with what we've got, honey. Like I said, I can't fix it now.
Okay.
I understand,
But
honey.
I know that's
I understand what you're trying to tell me, and I appreciate that you're trying to get the best product out. But right now, I can't fix it. The next time, what is the problem?
I wasn't trying to speak.
What are you? Come here and talk to me, honey. I'm trying very hard to understand you, but you can't. Talk to me, okay?
Okay.
Now, what is the problem?
Gary wasn't his first name, apparently. His name was Ernest. So,
No, Ernie is his son. Ernie is Junior.
no.
Is there not an Ernie Gygax
There is an Ernie
alive,
Gygax,
which is his son?
but he's also Ernest Gary Gygax.
Okay, wonderful. But everybody knows him as
Yes.
Gary. So just to sit there and tell me his name is Ernie, not Gary, doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. You have to lead with, Don, did you know that his actual name is not Gary, it's Ernie Gary? That way we don't get into a pissing contest live on the air. Okay? Communicate with me, please. Thank you. All right. What? Speak.
He left his initials in one of the dungeons that he wrote,
Okay.
so, which translated to EGG, or egg, a literal Easter egg.
Okay. Awesome. One of the things I'm planning on doing here is because Gary Gygax, yes, I'm going to continue to call him Gary because that is how everybody knows him. Gary, in his later years, wore glasses. And the image I want to work on of a wizard type, shaman type person, character, he's going to want to have his glasses. Alright. But they've got to be the right kind of glasses. Alright. Now, what I'm going to do here is look at what I'm doing. Now, pay attention here because the thing that's important here is guidelines. And I'll keep saying this until people remember it the way I do. I have an awful lot of line work on here. But you've got to remember that guidelines are not written in stone. There's a lot of information here. I mean, there's where that line there, that's the egg, but that's not his chin. But the area that I started with is close. And it'll change. So you don't be so set that the guideline is this, and this is where the line is, and that's where I placed it, so that's where it's got to be. You correct. You adapt to get the right imagery. Right? And come down like that. Hairline there. This is pretty close. And let's go this way, giving me his ear about here. Just a little bit below that ear line. This way, that way. Alright, and this will come down like that. Do we have any comments?
Not yet.
Is there anybody watching?
So far, just me, but I did see one other person for a brief moment.
Do you remember who it was?
They didn't say. I just saw that it was a 2 instead of one eyeball.
Okay. Alright.
Did you know? Back when D&D was like a brand spanking new, Dungeon Masters would effectively call Gary over the phone in order to ask questions regarding the rules of the game.
Oh, yeah?
And instead of telling them, well, the rules state this and yada yada yada, he would ask them, well, what did you do? What did you say? And whatnot. He encouraged the DMs to effectively create their own rules and their own rulings as far as their games were concerned.
That's great. Now, what I'm doing here, if anybody is tuning in somewhere in the middle here, what I'm doing is I am working on a character type, portrait type situation of Gary Gygax. And there are things that I'm noting that I've got to fix along the way as I see them. Ah, yeah. There it is. That comes out like that. That comes out like that. going to give me a basic sketch of the man in question. Roughing it out here. I have to figure out where to put his shaman information when I get to that point. Alright, collar. Here. Now, there is, to my knowledge, an episode of The Simpsons that Gary Gygax, is supposed to be portrayed on The Simpsons. I don't myself watch a lot of The Simpsons, but
Is that show still ongoing? Or?
oh god, yeah, Simpsons will not die. I don't know why, but they just keep going and going. Worse than the Energizer Bunny.
Oh boy.
But I always thought that the guy on The Simpsons who runs the comic shop was very similar looking in nature as Gary Gygax. I'm going to hit a couple things here. What I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to go back over this one as my guideline, second guideline, and fix a few things. Now, the company that I'm doing this particular study for, which is Fireside Creations, he tells stories of having spent time with the man, did dungeons and worked on things with him, played with in his realms, different games. He tells a story of how at one point they entered a dungeon and it was specifically designed to be well out of their ability. They were all medium level players. And they suddenly found themselves in a cave, or a dungeon, or an area, that was inundated with dragons, big fire dragons, big fire giants, some hellhounds, and other and assorted fire creatures.
Wait, fire dragons plural?
Multiple dragons, multiple fire giants, and multiple hellhounds. all looking at them as they entered the dragon as, oh goody, fresh meat. And they all looked at Gary at once and said, what did you let us do this for? What'd you walk us into? What the heck are we supposed to do here? And he just smiled, looked at them, and said, run. And they did. Now, my friend has not told me the end of that story. I have no idea if they made it out or not. He just said he told us to run, so we did. Now, I am really curious. Did they survive this campaign or not? Okay, there's my basic sketch. I know there's a lot of stuff on here that I'm going to have to play with to get it to look more like the man, but this is a good basic sketch. Alright, that. See how my lines keep changing? Because I'm going to go back over this again and fix a bunch of stuff. Alright, here we go. So, new layer. Alright, I'm going to zoom in here. Alright. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to first layer. I'm going to lighten this up. Now back to layer 2. It's going to go like that. These are pretty good. They're spot on where I want them to be. And let's see. There's those. Let's go around with the nose. Way up. And it comes down like that. Nostril. I was way off. That's better. That's better. It's going to come like that. Which means his nose is going to come like this. There we go. Alright, yeah. This is starting to come together. Yeah. Alright. This is going to come like this. It's going to come like that. Nope. this up. There we go. A little higher up. Thicker line here for his glasses. Giving some piercers here, or pincers, sorry. This, and that. Do that. So that line. So this line. All right. Indent there. So it's going to come down like this. That's that. All right. Meat on the face here. Mustache. It's going to come down like that. Doesn't look like he has much of a divider here. There we go. That's much better. Now, if anybody who doesn't know what I'm working on right now can tell me when they log in, what am I working on, I will be highly impressed with myself and them. Please don't say Ben Franklin. All right. Come this way. This is up. Beard comes down like this. He's got some heavy information here. That's going to come in. The mustache is going to come up this way. Yeah, that's starting to look more like him. Nice thick area here. It's going to be, this whole area is dark, which means that's doing that. That's doing that. This is exactly what I mean by draw what you see, not what you know. I gotta see where he is so that I can draw what he is, so that I can come back and draw what isn't. This, he is a game master. What I have to be ultimately drawing, though, is a shaman. Wizard type person.
Aren't shamans more druidic than wizard types, or more scholarly?
Yeah. So, he's magical. So he's going to have books. He's going to have that kind of information on him, but he's not going to have the Gandalf. For the layman, when I said wizard, that's who I was talking to. Somebody who may not be into Dungeons and Dragons. If you say shaman, they don't understand what the word is. So you go with the basic. It's a wizard type. But to everybody else, they're not Gandalf. They're something else. They do have some magics to them, but they are not magical. They're not wizards. The hardest part I have right now with this piece is I have a would-be GM type game master writer of dungeons rule Nazi behind me who's going to correct everything I say. Shamans are not wizards, they're druids. You can't say that. I sure can.
It is not proof editing.
Oh, wow. I am impressed with myself. This is really looking like him. All right. Right. Hairline. Huh, if you want to call that a hairline. Hey, I understand. It's a hairline, but there's hair back there. Not a lot. One of my favorite lines of the 60s was not a John Wayne movie, but it was a John Wayne interview. Harvard, he arrived at Harvard for one of their events. I don't know whether it was the Hasty Pudding Award or not. But he arrived, and one of the lampooning college students asked him specifically, "Mr. Wayne, Mr. Wayne!" "Yes, I understand, or rumor has it that you are quite bald, actually. That's why you always wear a cowboy hat." Mr. Wayne looked at him, knowing that this was not something that this kid was going to let go. So he looked at the kid and he says, "I can assure you that every hair on my head is real." Lifted his hat, tore off his toupee, and said, "They're not mine, but they're real hair." And he was greeted with multiple cheers. They were not expecting him to tell the truth about that. And that's one of the reasons I think John Wayne is awesome. I love a good John Wayne movie. I actually, if you're a John Wayne fan, you will recognize that I, in Champions Challenge, quoted a John Wayne line. That everybody on the ship, that is not right. I'm going to erase this. Try it again. All right. John Wayne. Yes, John Wayne line. For Champions Challenge, I quoted a John Wayne movie. All the ne'er-do-well pirate-type people on the airship that they're on at the end of Volume 1 is backing Nemandus and Bizet, Mopsy, backing them up. And Nemandus is trying to reason with them, and he's looking at them and he's like, "Now we'll all calm down." They're not listening, of course, but that's what he's trying to say, or get them to listen to. This is going to come down like this. It's going to come down like that. It's got this information there. That's going to be that. And this is going to come down like that. Now I'm going to look at my reference here. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. This. There we have a good, or reasonably good, basic portrait of Mr. Gary Gygax. Now, what I've got to do here is look at the rest of my information. Figure out how to make this guy look like a shaman. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to work up on my first layer Always draw on the right layer. Gotta make sure, where am I supposed to be, Kronk? On the right layer! So, in this reference I have of Mr. Gygax, his hand is out. I found this picture and I'm like, this is perfect. Let's make this guy doing something with his hand. A lot of artists shy away from hands. Oh, hands, I can't draw hands. Just draw what you see, man. It's just a series of tubes. If you can get that right, you can get the whole thing right. Another knuckle. Another knuckle. And that. Knuckle here. There. Let's go over here. There's the hand. Put a sleeve on, or sleeve of reference on. And let's look at some of this here. Okay. Yeah. Alright, let's look at this reference picture a little harder. Come on. Rest of him. Okay. It's not going to give me everything I want, but it's going to be close. So, back to this guy. Normal. Alright. And let's work up some of this. He's not a small man. If we can get his basic shoulder. This is coming. And we're going to look at his shoulder. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright. Hopefully you guys can see some of these guidelines as they're going down. What I'm going to be doing here working from attitude to this. And then he's got a book from the thing kind be the edge of the table, edge of the book. All right. Now then, he's got a hand, he's got a book. What to do with that information? Back to level 2, the actual drawing level. See what I'm doing here? Let's take out level 1. I'm cleaning up my cleanup, or cleaning up my rough. Still rough looking, but still doing this in a way. Let me see what I'm doing. Okay. Now, think of this as a shaman. First thing I got to think of, I'm going to go back to layer 1, because this is my rough. Come on, pencil, catch up. There we go. Because I got to think of this as you were wearing robes. Shaman would wear robes, just like a wizard would wear robes, so don't get upset, Amber. Just because he's got robes and a hood doesn't mean he's a wizard. Right? Don't fall asleep back there. I saw your eyes closed. You were dozing. No falling asleep at the switch.
Warlocks are a tad different in respect it's the blood that allegedly gives them power. A pact with some other foreign entity, usually of another plane. Whether good or evil depends entirely on the DM and the person in question. Lastly, I remember, I think there was like one more.
I will debate this issue with you. Say again what you said, but say it louder so that the people here can hear you and what you're spouting. You have to speak clearer.
When speaking between
Can't hear you.
when figuring out the difference.
Can't hear you. Now, over here and speak in a nice, clear tone.
From what information I have gathered, now this is my experience is primarily limited to D&D, so take this experience with a grain of salt. But from what I have been told, the major difference between what makes a druid, a shaman, for lack of a better term, a warlock, and a wizard entirely depends on the individuals and how it is that they came to learn to interact with the flow of magic within the D&D setting called the Weave. Whereas the wizards are taught to approach the Weave like scholastically, as scientists would do, well, wizards are the ones that are going scholastically. Warlocks, on the other hand, they are more of the wild card out of the bunch. They tend to feel things rather innately through, usually through either blood connections or either through some other form of pacts with other planers that give them access to magic. Paladins or clerics work in similar factors in that they rely on deities to provide them with the ability to access their magics. They can't exactly just go pluck the weave and then boom, you cast a spell up there in the bat. Lastly, there are the druids, which learn their magic by observing nature. Which is why you will see a lot of elves being druidic in nature, because it's rather easy for them to connect with the weave and through nature in that regard in D&D setting. I hope that answered some questions.
Okay, now, I will debate this issue, because I played a warlock once.
Okay.
My question is, it's not the magic that makes the character evil. It's the intention.
Yeah,
Okay, because I got into a huge debate
I can.
with a person who was playing a paladin,
Mm-hmm.
lawful good,
Mm-hmm.
when I, as a warlock, and she knew I was a warlock when she became part of the group,
What were you attempting to do?
raised the dead.
Ah, there we go.
And she had all kinds of problems. That's evil, that's evil, that's evil. And I'm like, it's not evil because it's saving your life. It's evil, it's evil, it's evil. It's not evil. It's the intention.
Were you into... Was it like raised dead, or like were you trying to take a corpse and bring it back to life?
I was, define corpse.
Are we talking old deceased or recently deceased?
Recently deceased.
So very late healing.
This was a situation where we were in a dungeon,
Mm-hmm.
and the GM in question here loved his giant spiders.
Okay.
And we killed all his giant spiders,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were facing something bigger and nastier. So we decided, or I decided, the only way we're going to stave off these big nasties is if there were more of us. Where can I find more of us in the party? Something that I can command quickly and it would just go do my bidding.
Okay.
So I resurrected the dead corpses of the giant spiders, and now they followed my orders. And I sent them to the bad guys. The paladin flipped out. That's evil. And oh man, we got into a huge debate over what was evil and what was not. And my whole contention here in this discussion and debate was that it's saving your life, shut up. And she's like, no, you must die, you're evil. And I'm like, I'm not evil, I'm saving your life. And she's like, nope, didn't want to hear it.
I would personally have waited to kill you until after.
Waited to kill me until we were free of the danger. Right.
But
Now, my whole point is stemming from the Bible.
okay.
Because I figured I had her in this discussion because I brought up the Bible. Now, she's religious. She's a paladin.
Well, yeah, makes sense.
So I brought up the Bible, and she goes, how does this work in the Bible to your favor? And I said, okay, you remember Moses? Now, the GM or GM
yeah.
right there should have said, nope, this is or this is BC, not AD. There is no Moses. There is nope, you can't bring the Bible in. No, doesn't work.
Oh, I thought this was between players, not between actual characters.
She was debating as the character. I started debating because I thought she was debating as a person, not as the character. She was debating as the character, and I didn't see that. So I brought up the Bible, thinking it was two people discussing. The GM should have stepped in right there and stopped it. But it continued, it got nasty, and because I kept trying to bring the Bible up, she finally says, fine, what are you trying to say? And I said, in the Bible, Moses is standing in front of the Pharaoh and saying, let my people go. And his two wizards, whatever, advisors, whatever, they throw their staffs down. And they turn into snakes. Right?
Right.
Right. What does Moses do?
takes his staff and makes a bigger snake.
Right, throws it down, makes a bigger snake.
That eats the other two snakes.
That eats the other two snakes. Now, go back one step. He throws down his staff, and it's a bigger snake. Same trick. Right? He has matched their magic to magic.
Mm-hmm.
Same trick. Yes?
Yes.
Why isn't his trick evil? You can't. It's the same trick. But she says that what she tried to bring up is that that's God, not who you were in league with to make the magic. And I said if the outcome of what you're trying to do is good, it is good. If what you're trying to do is good, not evil,
Mm-hmm.
then you are not an evil sorcerer or warlock or wizard or this or that. If what you're doing is good.
True.
That was my whole point. She didn't want to believe that. The paladin. Finally, the GM did step in, broke it up, and said, hey. You guys realize that you're taking it outside the realm. You need to back this up. We did. All worked out fine. But it was touch and go there for a while because it was getting quite heated. But the whole point was, afterward, she finally looked at me and she says, "Sir," she goes, "The way D&D, as she explained it to me, the way D&D works is that since as a warlock, my access to magic is not God, but a demon or less than reputable source, then the magic that I'm using was indeed evil. And that therefore I was evil because I was using his evil for my own benefit. But Moses, even though it was the same trick, was not evil because his source of his magic was God. That's the difference between the two ideals there. Took me a while to understand that, but I finally got it,
Okay.
which I found interesting. So it is the source, not the use, that makes it evil, according to her. Okay, so back to Gary here.
Although, personally, I find it weird that necromancy is regarded as the school of evil when you have things that can charm people to do things against their will and effectively like mind tricks as far as domination spells are concerned, and yet somehow that school is not regarded as evil, yet necromancy is?
I don't know. Anyway, do we have any comments or anything going like that?
Nothing that I've seen so far, but it's more than just me watching now. So that's a plus. We have
Okay.
an audience.
We have an audience. Somebody is there. All right.
Oh! I know who the person is. It's Brookie Boo.
Who? Oh, that is looking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you knew who I got into the big debate with.
But she says, "Hi guys."
Hello, Brooke. Does Brooke know who I'm working on?
Brooke asks, "How do you like the digital stuff so far?"
I am loving it. Absolutely loving it. I'm going to open this up a little bit. There we go, that's better. Now that I've fixed that, let's get rid of that other line. That's much better.
Rookie Boo says, good. Also, I do not know. She does not know who it is that you are working on at this present time.
If you don't know by looking at this, then it's quite possible you would not know who I'm working on, even if I put up my reference picture.
Well, I'm sure people know the name, they just don't recognize the face behind it
Mm-hmm.
more than anything else.
Like I said, right now, it wouldn't help for me to put this up, put up the reference picture. That. Give this a little more oomph. That's better. Okay. Because eventually I've got to figure out what's he doing with his hand.
I know that at the beginning of the day, wizards are required to memorize their spells.
Yeah.
It's also possible that he's writing a book.
Possible.
Oh. Jim Murphy had mentioned something about the. I'm just looking at the reference picture right now, but Jim Murphy said that one of the tools that he uses in order to be like a minimalist game master is a three-ring binder where he keeps the most of the stuff that he keeps maps in there. He keeps a fair amount of details in there, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But he's been working with the hobby practically since it came out.
Okay, is that because are you bringing that up because he's on with us?
Jim Murphy is not on with us. He's not English today.
Speak, enunciate, use your words.
He has a lot of knowledge on D&D from back in its earliest days, and from all the channels I have observed over the years, is that D&D largely consists of taking traditions and passing them down to future generations, as far as the storytelling and the craft, as far as all of that is concerned. And so, part of it is just the overall stories that I have found so far that were rather neat. Sorry, I know how I can see how.
You're kind of rambling, but
Yeah.
it's okay. No, I'm not going to do that.
But when it first came out, Dungeon Master masters were recommended just to make a dungeon with like 6 levels, I believe.
Uh-huh.
As far as because at the time, a D&D could theoretically contain the entire world, but the problem is with making an entire world is that once you get started, you may not exactly finish it.
Uh-huh.
So in order to effectively make something that game masters could effectively have something as final progress or like something tangible in their hands, they gave themselves kind of like a deadline or just an exercise, for lack of a better term, where they were told, well, like, make this dungeon. The number was completely arbitrary, but so long as they had something down, they could get started running games and being able to have people play.
Okay. Gee, I hope everybody can hear you. Because I can just barely hear you, which means the microphone's definitely going to be having difficulty picking you up.
Should I sit over there?
That's up to you. Like I said, you've got information you're trying to give to everybody, and you're not really speaking loudly. All right. Okay.
Thank you, Brooke. That helps.
Somebody told you they can hear you?
Yes, Brooke said she can hear me for the most part.
For the most part, okay. All right. I'm about 3:18, so I'm going to finish up this hand here. And then I'm going to be getting ready to sign off for the day. 3:30 is when I call it quits for the day. So, one of the things that I'm going to have to do with this piece, I'm going to have to figure out that's not right. I got to fix that too. Let's take that out. And go back here. Fix this. These edges. That's better. That's definitely better. Okay. Yeah, like I said, let's go back, get this hand worked out. Then I've got to figure out, because in the piece, in the actual photograph, Mr. Gygax is smoking. He's got a little tray that he is using to dump his ashes. As I understand, he, as an ex-smoker, he would do. But that is something far too modern for a shaman to be doing. Now, what I've got to do in between now and the next part of this drawing, after I get the hand in, is figure out what would he be doing as a shaman with that hand.
I don't know about that as far as the shaman. Granted, they probably would not be smoking like cigars, but
He would not be smoking a cigarette. He would not be smoking a cigarette with a lighter on the table.
oh, that
Yeah, that's a lighter.
that looked like a cigar.
No,
I thought he was holding a pencil.
my thought
Over
exactly.
here.
My thought exactly. Pencil is a good idea. What I could do is I could. Oh, now the inspiration is struck. Thank you, Amber.
Brooke saying, well, like pen, quill, chalk, maybe.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly where my head was going. Eventually, once I get the rest of the fingers in here, knuckles, etc., drawn in. Is to put some kind of writing implement into his hands. Okay, there's that. There's the book. There's that. That. Now the question here is, what kind of a wizard or shaman do I have him be? Do I, if I give him a quill, let's add a layer, so I'm not stuck with anything I draw. Come on. Now, the inkwell. Because you've got, I'm going to have some kind of diagram and stuff like that here. More information over there. Now the question is the inkwell. Should the inkwell be blood and the skull head. Or something else? That's an interesting question. I kind of like the skull head, but I think at this point what I am going to do is I'm going to ask the client to chime in. This was a fun piece to do. This was quite interesting. And like I said, there's a lot of information here that bears more cleanup. There's more information. Let's zoom back out again. Because that is an interesting piece. There's got to be more on the table, I think, guys, so maybe we go back here and we put some papers.
Every wizard's gotta have his reference.
Yeah, Of course, something tells me our shaman here would have some kind of alcoholic beverage on the table.
Brooke's recommendation is runes?
Well, yeah, you could put some rune stones here. Oh, I just had a cool idea. Zoom in on her. very leggy, long. Just a quick idea. And again, this will take some input from the client. Zoom back out again. How's that? On the cup. Just adds a little something, something. My art director says yes. Now it's the client. Okay. How you feeling, darling?
Okay. Did you get my text?
Does it look like him?
Yeah.
Change the glasses so that they're more period. Yeah, change some things that he's going to be a shaman.
Okay. That's fine.
Cool. So now I've
Brooke
got to.
says, "Hi, Ma."
Hi, Brooke.
So,
Hope she's doing good.
and good timing. It's time for me to sign off. So today you've seen process for how I take basic information, draw it again, draw it again. I'm going to have to take this and draw it again, but this will give me a good idea for value. That's why I started on a gray tone paper. I'm going to be doing some things with a lot of gray tone paper, I think. It just is adding something for me. And the client is like the giant that I did a while back, but they're liking it so far. So now I've got to take this, send it to the client, get an okay to proceed. But like I said, you saw from beginning to end, or not to end yet, but from beginning of this piece, how I set it up, how I look at what I'm drawing, how I change if it's wrong instead of going with what I initially drew. If I know it's wrong, I have to fix it. And that's where a lot of young artists who are just starting out make their mistake. They don't want to do it over again. I don't want to call it out and out laziness, but that's what I got called out for. If you know it's wrong, fix it. If you have to take an eraser and do a great big area and you can still see, because you drew it hard on the paper, you can still see your original line, don't be afraid to start over. But if you know this is just the rough and not the final, you don't have to start over, fix it. But you are going to start over again for the final piece. For the rough, don't start over unless it's so far gone that you can't possibly keep track of what you're doing or the paper's falling apart. All important pieces of information. Like I said, if you know it's wrong, don't sit back and go, nobody will see it. Somebody will see it, and you'll be embarrassed because they'll bring it up in public. It's happened. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you know it's wrong, fix it. Start over. Do it right. Whatever it takes, fix it so that somebody doesn't go, well, that doesn't look right, or this is wrong, or that wouldn't be in that spot, or this wouldn't be there. If you know it's wrong, fix it. And that's what I did a lot with this. This is why I keep saying guidelines are not written in stone. If you know it's wrong, Get your guideline to where it's supposed to be. And if you draw a line, because when you're trying to clean up your initial sketch and it's completely off the guideline, then you're seeing that the guideline was wrong. Go with the one that's right. It's not always the first line. Sometimes it's the 100th line that is the right one. Don't be afraid to start over. And if you know it's wrong, fix it. Don't be afraid to fix it. Don't be so staunch in your, that's where I drew the line, that's where it is. Because somebody will point it out, that's not where the line's supposed to be. So, I'm off my preaching box at this point. Like I said, it all ties into the main thing that I say. Draw what you see, not what you know. Me? I see dragons. Why don't you? See you next week. Come on. Ah, there you are.
Brooke is laughing. She gives us hearts.